Welcome to the webinar presented by the Office of Court Administration, or OCA, on the submission of the Judicial Council monthly court activity reports by the county clerks. My name is Sandra Mabbitt, and I am the Judicial Information Analyst at OCA, where our mission is to provide resources and information for the efficient administration of the judicial branch of Texas. First, I'd like to give you an idea of what the Judicial Information section at OCA does. Our section is responsible for working with clerks and courts in collecting, analyzing, and publishing the court activity statistics from the more than 2,700 courts in the state. We also publish and maintain the Texas Judicial System Directory using the information gathered from each of the individual courts. In addition, we are here to provide assistance to various court staff, as well as the court's case management vendors and local information technology staff on report guidelines and submissions. Today's topics will include the submission of the report, either manually by typing the numbers in for each section, or by electronic submission via an XML file. I will also discuss the importance of reviewing the report each month and provide you with some tips and things to watch for. Then I'll discuss how to make any necessary corrections to the reports once you have reviewed them. So let's get started with the actual submission of the reports. Now this screen shows the Court Activity Reporting and Directory System, or CARD, login page, along with the link to get there. Here, a variety of things can be accomplished. The reporting database allows anyone to run a report and obtain the most up-to-date data. As soon as a report is submitted by a clerk or court, the data becomes immediately available to the public. There's no login required to access these reports. This is also where the clerk or court logs in to submit the reports, either electronically via an XML file or by manually entering the data. Before we get into the actual submission of the report, I need to point out that your case management system vendor or your local IT staff creates the codes that are used in your case management system to track the information that gets reported on the monthly report. OCA does not create, specify, or have knowledge of codes or any other content regarding case management systems being used in the state. It is your vendor or local IT staff's responsibility to complete all programming of the system, as well as all the programming necessary to produce the reports, including the development of the capability to submit a report electronically by uploading an XML file. You may also be responsible for doing such things as mapping codes to the correct categories on the report. So please refer and discuss any questions or issues regarding these issues with your vendor or local IT staff. In regards to submitting the report, all courts are required to submit the report online unless a waiver has been received from our office. To clarify, a waiver for good cause may be granted from reporting online. OCA has no authority to grant a waiver that would excuse a clerk or court from submitting reports. If you wish to be considered for a waiver in order to send the report to OCA for data entry, please contact our office. So if you are not already reporting online, you may contact our service desk by phone or email, and they will provide you with all of the information you need. To submit the report online, each court will use a unique 9-digit login ID and password. Note that each court has only one login ID. Now, we're all used to being told, don't share your password, but that's not the case with submitting these reports. The login ID belongs to the court, not an individual. So if more than one person in your court will share the responsibility of submitting the report, you will share the login ID and password. Please be aware that if you are responsible for reporting both constitutional county court and statutory county court activity, that you must use a separate, unique 9-digit login ID and password. The activity reported for these two different types of courts may not be combined. If you have been combining the activity of the two, please contact me so that we may provide you with the separate login ID and password and also assist in getting the reports corrected. On the main page, all of the reports for each month and each section that have been submitted for the current fiscal year you are reporting will be displayed. Remember that the state fiscal year begins on September 1st and ends on August 31st, and that reports are due by the 20th of the month. Any section that contains errors will display on that page in red. And on October 1st of each year, which is when you will be submitting the September report for the newest fiscal year, the court's main page will reset. So all the reports for the prior fiscal year will no longer display. Once the September report is successfully submitted, that will display, and then each month after will display once successfully submitted. On this screen, you can see that for the sections that have been submitted in the first 2 months of fiscal year 2015, none of the sections are in red, indicating that a section is out of balance. But you can also see that for the month of September 2014, the hate crime section has not been submitted. Remember that the hate crime section is required if criminal activity is reported. Also, once a section has been submitted in 1 month, it must be submitted in all months, even if you do not have jurisdiction in that section and are only submitting a report, reporting no activity. The various functions available on the main page are Add New Monthly Report. Click on this to manually enter a report. View Electronic Submission. Click here to upload a report. That's your XML file. Search and edit new data. Click here to view and also edit the reports that have been submitted for September 2010 and later. Run report new data. Click here to run various reports from September 2010 and later. Run report old data. Click here if you wish to run a report stored from our old database for the period September 1992 through August 2010. Note that these old data reports may not be edited. And last, appointments and fees. Click here to submit these required monthly reports. For additional information on both the appointments and fees and running reports, please refer to the separate webinars on these subjects. Now let's go over the options for submitting the reports, the first being manually entering the information. To do that, click on Add New Monthly Report. A tip when entering the report manually is to only enter a number where you have activity to report. In other words, it is not necessary to type a 0 in any field where there is no activity to report. Once you have completed the necessary information and click on Submit, the system will automatically fill in zeros where there is nothing reported. So keep this in mind if you have no activity to report in any or all sections. Because the number of pending cases gets carried over from 1 month to the next, reports must be entered in sequential order by month. Now there are 2 ways that you can tell if a report has not been entered for a previous month. The first and easiest way is by checking your main screen to see if all the previous month reports and sections are there and are complete. Another clue is that when you open up a screen to start entering a report and the number of cases pending at the beginning of the month is blank. So here is an example of where the criminal section was not submitted in the previous month because line 1A, cases pending first of the month, is blank. At this point, you should go back to the court's main page and you will see that the criminal section for the previous month is not present. When you have finished manually entering the report and press Submit, make sure that you receive this message. This will let you know that the report was saved successfully and that there were no calculation errors detected. We've covered entering a report manually. Now let's go over uploading a report. In order to upload a file, your case management vendor or local IT staff must set up the capability for you to generate an XML file, and this XML file must be formatted properly, which means that it must follow the specifications posted on our website. The vendor or IT staff can test a file to determine whether it is properly formatted by running it through the XML tester on our website. The website also offers answers to some frequently asked questions for the vendor or IT staff, as well as for you, regarding XML file submission and the online report submission. You should refer to those documents if you have questions about how to upload an XML file, or if you receive an error message when you attempt to submit the report. Before you try uploading a report, you must run the report from your case management system, which will generate an XML file. The XML file gets saved somewhere on your computer or network. If you do not know where the XML file gets stored, you will need to contact your vendor or your IT staff for assistance. Now, just like when you manually entered the reports, you must submit the reports in chronological order, oldest outstanding month first. If you attempt to upload a report and the previous month has not been submitted, you will receive the error message shown on the screen. So here we go. We're ready to upload the report. You will click on View Electronic Submission. Here you will click on Browse to find the file you will upload, and then click on Submit. Once the report is accepted, you will automatically be taken to the Criminal section if there are no formatting errors in the report. Now, some vendors have informed their customers that they must go to each section of the report and press Submit to get the report to upload. However, this is not accurate. The report uploads automatically, and there is no need to press Submit for each section. However, just because you did not receive an error message does not mean that there are no errors in the report, and you should not assume that the information that you just uploaded matches any paper report that you may have generated from your case management system. We strongly suggest that you print out a copy of the report from your case management system. Remember, the one that you need to keep for a minimum of 2 years, and compare it to what was loaded into the database. I will discuss specific errors that you should look for later in this presentation. As previously mentioned, if the XML file is not properly formatted or it is missing critical information, it will not upload and an error message will be received. You will then need to contact your vendor or local IT staff to correct the file before you can successfully upload the report. So now that you're at the point where you have successfully submitted the report, I want to discuss some other information you need to know. You should use the Notes section at the bottom of each section to account for unusual or inconsistent reporting figures. A common reason for large docket adjustments are during a conversion to a new case management system or a validation or audit of your pending case inventory. You should also document any other unusual or inconsistent activity that appears in your reports. A common example is a very large number of cases dismissed on a DWOP docket. Another might be very low activity due to the court being closed because of storm damage. The explanation that you enter does not need to be elaborate, but it should provide enough information to explain the circumstances. Do not use the Notes section to ask questions or enter comments for which you are expecting a response from us. There is no way for us to monitor what is being entered in the reports and when. If you have a question or concern, please send an email to judinfo@txcourts.gov and a staff member will get back with you. Please note that the name displayed at the top of the screen does not indicate who submitted the report. This question comes up quite frequently from district clerk offices that are responsible for submitting activity reports for statutory county courts, as the county clerk's name will display. The login ID that is used, as well as the name of the contact person in the prepared by line, indicates who submitted the report. So now that you have the knowledge needed to submit the report, let's recap and talk a little more in depth about reviewing the report. We can't stress enough the importance of reviewing the report for errors and accuracy, particularly if you are uploading the report. We find that clerks who upload the report rarely pay attention to what is being loaded into the database. You should review the submitted report each month, comparing it to a copy of the report from your case management system. This should be done even if your report is not out of balance, because there may be other errors present in your reports. So let's go over some things that you should look for. The most obvious thing that you should look for is anything marked out of balance, which is flagged in red. These reports are flagged on the main page as well as in the section that is out of balance. Out of balance errors involve calculation errors that must be corrected. When a report is out of balance, the report will show the specific fields that are not adding up properly so that you can make the necessary corrections. While the report will show you where there are errors, there may be additional lines that need correction. In this case, the negative balances at the end of the month are caused by more cases being disposed than the total cases on the docket. So the total number of cases would need to be verified as well as the total dispositions in order to balance the report. If you submit those corrections and there are additional or new errors, the report will again show you where there are errors, and they will be displayed in red. When reports are out of balance, you should correct them before submitting any subsequent months. In this example, the criminal section is out of balance in several months. Corrections should be made the same way the reports are originally submitted, oldest month first, working forward. Note that even if you correct the oldest month and all the other reports after are automatically put in balance, reports for each month after that should be reviewed for accuracy. That is because you may have made docket adjustments or other changes based on a previous month being out of balance. Review the report to check for filings, docket adjustments, dispositions, or pending case numbers that are too low, too high, or just don't make sense. If you are submitting the report manually, a typographical error could have been made or numbers could have been placed into the wrong line. If you uploaded the report, a recent update to your case management system could have caused an issue with your report to no fault of your own. If no docket adjustment has been entered, is one needed? That is there a difference between the number of cases that was reported pending at the end of the previous month and the number of cases that was reported at the beginning of the current month? If a docket adjustment is entered in the report, is it correct or is it an error? If it is correct and is fairly significant, an explanation needs to be entered into the report. Also look for reports that incorrectly show no new cases filed or no dispositions. The bottom line is that while we know it is difficult for you to know the exact number that should be reported on any particular line, you should be able to determine if the numbers are inflated, too low, or missing altogether. For those of you who upload your reports, look for uploaded information that does not match the report printed from your case management system. Unfortunately, there have been numerous instances where the two did not match. If you encounter this, you will need to consult with your vendor or IT staff. A common issue we find with courts that upload the report is that the report only contains the pending balances and the rest of the report is filled with zeros. If you find a report like this that is incorrect, you can call OCA to delete those reports and try resubmitting them. If that does not resolve the issue, you will need to consult your vendor or IT staff. In addition to the issues just discussed, it is very important to read the report instructions to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what should be reported in each category of the report. Clerks and courts occasionally find that their vendors or IT staff have not set up things to report activity in the correct place, or they find that they themselves are entering or coding information incorrectly. Make sure that you keep an open dialogue with your software vendor and contact them when there are obvious programming issues. They are the only ones who can correct them. And I encourage you to contact our office if you have any questions or need our assistance. So now that you have submitted and reviewed your reports, I want to go over what happens with the information. I mentioned earlier that the Judicial Information section publishes an annual report each year containing the information reported for all the courts in the state. Prior to publishing that information, we want to provide the clerks with an opportunity for a final review to make any necessary corrections. In October, we send a letter to you with a copy of the report combining all of the information submitted for the fiscal year and ask that the information be reviewed and corrected if necessary in the reporting database. Keep in mind that if you find that corrections are necessary, you must make those corrections to individual months, as corrections to the year as a whole cannot be made. So now that we've gone over reviewing the reports, let's go over how to make the necessary corrections. Regardless of how the report was originally submitted, corrections may be made either by uploading a corrected XML file, contacting us to delete your previously submitted reports so that you can upload new XML files, or by manually entering corrections into the existing reports. Make sure that you are making the corrections to each individual month needed and sequentially to the oldest month first and work forward. If you upload a new or corrected XML file, you should review the report in its entirety just like when it was originally submitted. Also remember to review any subsequent months. While you may think you don't need to, if it's only 1 or 2 months that need to be corrected, you may have entered docket adjustments or have other things that need to be corrected. If you were missing certain sections of a report and you later submitted the missing reports, you must check any subsequent reports. In this example, the criminal sections were not submitted for the months of February and March, but criminal sections were submitted for April and later. Since no reports were entered for February or March, the April report starts off with all the pending cases in the docket adjustment line. Once the March report is submitted, the docket adjustments in the April report will need to be removed. The April report and subsequent reports should also be reviewed for any other necessary changes. We are now at the end of the webinar, and I wanted to make sure that if you have any questions, you have our contact information in Judicial Information. The email address shown is one that we all monitor, and the first one that sees an email will answer you. The main number for OCA is listed, as well as a fax number that comes directly to our section. Please feel free to contact us with questions or concerns at any time. Thank you for taking the time to view this webinar. I hope that you will find it helpful in the completion of the monthly activity report.